There are a number of things that often stand in our way of a successful decluttering journey. And one of the biggest is people. As if the stuff wasn't hard enough to deal with, we need to navigate these thoughts and emotions of other people too. In this podcast, we delve into how to deal with friends and family when you're embarking on a decluttering journey.
You're listening to the Declutter Hub podcast, bringing you tried and tested, no-nonsense tips and advice from the leading experts in decluttering and organising your home. Now here are your hosts, Ingrid Jansen and Leslie Spellman.
Hello and welcome, listeners. I'm Ingrid.
And I'm Leslie.
If you're new to the Declutter Hub podcast, you're so welcome. What you'll find is that we try and find a fun factor in the serious business of decluttering. And if you've been here for a while, you know exactly what we mean. So thank you so much for listening.
If you'd like to get involved in conversations relating to this podcast, it all takes place in our Facebook group. So come and join our lovely, warm, supportive community. To find the Facebook group, go to declutterhub.com/group to find out more, or you can search for the Declutter Hub community on Facebook. So, Ingrid, listeners, before we get started, this may not go well because let me tell you, Ingrid Jansen today is a tad on the grumpy front. We have been laughing to try and get her over the hurdle, and it's ironic, of course, that we're talking today about other people. Because people have kind of been getting to you a little bit this week, haven't they? Not within the decluttering world, I hasten to add, but other people, just little bits and pieces here and there that have made you want to almost throw your teddy out the pram, might be the word that I might use. We've had grumpy.
Well, you know what, Leslie? I always try to be cheerful and smiley, but I have got bad days too. You know what I mean? I know, I agree. I was a little bit grumpy, but I think I've made up for it. We've been laughing a little bit now. And I realized something very important that you reminded me of. And I thought, yes, and that cheered me up immediately. Because, of course, tomorrow is our memberversary. How cool is that? And if you're listening and thinking, I have no idea what a memberversary is, let me tell you, because most of you probably know us from the podcast that you listen to every week in, week out. This is podcast 257. I mean, that's a lot of weeks. But we also, of course, have the Facebook group, and we also have our amazing membership where we help so many people all over the world with their decluttering and organizing. And on the 2nd of September, 2019, we started the Declutter Hub membership. How cool is that? So it's our memberversary.
Do you know what? As well as our memberversary, which is very exciting, it's my wedding anniversary. On the 4th of September, 30 years. 30 actual years of marriage. Which is to be celebrated, but to be kind of like, oh my word, at the same token. So I don't know, no, I am happy about it, but it's like long, right? 30 years.
Yes.
I mean, and not many people make it to 30 years, so I need to be very grateful for that. And I know many people are at 50 or 60 years, which is incredible, but 30 years, I'm not going to lie, that seems like a really long time. I've been with Steve longer than I've been without him. Let's just say that. Yeah. That makes sense. So, yeah, so it's a week of versaries, memberversary. So who do you wish happy anniversary to on the memberversary? The members, us, ourselves?
Definitely. Yeah, I think we have to congratulate ourselves too, Leslie. We definitely have to say happy anniversary or memberversary to our members. But I want to say happy memberversary to you, Leslie. Because 4 years going strong. Occasionally being grumpy to each other, occasionally, well, very, very seldom we actually have an argument, but overall, I think we just keep going, don't we?
It's all good. And, it's made even nicer by the lovely reviews that we get in. So we wanted to talk about a review today from the lovely Karen, didn't we?
Yes. She wrote in and said, congratulations, Leslie and Ingrid. Well, that's perfect. It was for our 250th episode, but this works out brilliantly. And thank you for your wonderful positivity and energy.
And can you get that today, Ingrid? Can you get
yes, Leslie. Lisa, yes, it's going to be fine. This podcast was absolutely fascinating. I knew podcasters had a team, but I had no idea how many people and the detail of their involvement. I wish more podcasters did this, as who doesn't like a peek behind the scenes? I love the variety of your podcast, combination of interviews, and you two having a natter. I can natter too, so I love it. And thanks to Ross, who is presumed is reading this too, or listening to this too. Keep up the brilliant and important work. Sending the warmest of wishes, Karen.
Yes, people are nice, Ingrid. We're going to talk a lot about people, sometimes in a negative way, sometimes in a positive way today. But Karen falls nicely into the positive, nice people camp, doesn't she? So thank you so much, Karen, for making our day. And yes, but today we are going to talk a little bit about people, how to deal with people when you are on a decluttering journey. So let's first of all think about all the people that might be involved in some way and list them out, Ingrid.
Well, Leslie, lots of other people are involved and we might not even realize it. But of course, we've got our partner, our kids, maybe even our neighbors, our friends, our family, people
parents.
Yes. I mean, we're not alone in this world. You know what I mean? We all have people around us, some closer, some a bit more far away. But yeah, there's always other people involved, I think.
And I think there's going to be, they're going to sort of fall into two camps, really, aren't they? There's going to be those people who really know you and live in the home with you or enter the home. And then there's going to be those who don't. We talk about neighbours and stuff. So neighbours might have an inkling of what's going on inside the house and potentially might judge based on that. This is what we're really talking about, really, is the judgment that's involved in it, aren't we, Ingrid?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing is, when you feel judged, that is such a horrible feeling to get. And it really, I think, ingrains on people's soul, doesn't it? That feeling that other people are looking at me, they've got all these opinions about me. I don't like that, but how I can't change how other people perceive me in this current moment, and it can be really negative. It can really, I think it can even be very debilitating if other people judge you.
And I think sometimes it's also a judgment on ourselves. And so sometimes, you talked about perception there. So sometimes we might perceive that other people are thinking of us in a certain way when actually they're not. And so there's things like that. But let's talk about the types of things that family. So yes, we've got those people who live in our home and they might be directly saying things to you. So they might actually berate you for things that you have done, we've all been in those situations where there's a kind of mismatch in terms of who's doing things in the home, chores, cooking, looking after kids, blah, 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 all of the things that involve in running a household. And sometimes there's a mismatch and one person feels hard done by and the other one kicks back a little bit. It's not an uncommon thing. But if that's something that happens repeatedly throughout your life, then that's when it becomes a little bit more tricky.
Yeah.
I think also you as a child then often you become labeled often as the messy one, the disorganized one, the chaotic one, the one who likes to keep stuff unnecessarily. So you kind of gather that label along the way in your childhood. So you even get judged and shamed in some ways by your parents, which is not healthy and not nice and sits with us for years, if not decades, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, that it's really hard to then feel confident in the steps you want to take to change that as well, because you've got all this negative self-talk from all these years. And how are you going to turn that around and go, hold on a minute, I don't only have to convince myself and other people, but I even have to convince myself that I can do this and tackle this clutter and work on this decluttering journey. And it can be a lonely place to be, if you don't have people around you that support you.
I think it's really interesting because as professional organizers, we must have talked about this before in the podcast. Quite often we will get calls when in our one-to-one work where we go into people's homes. We get calls from what we call third parties, right? So that means it could be anybody. It could be a friend. It could be a charity. It could be a parent. It could be a child. It could be a partner. All of those things who kind of come to us and say, my partner needs help. I'd like you to come in and sort this out. Very well meaning, of course, in the right place. And certainly we can help, but we can never help until that person themselves wants help. And sometimes it can take people down a further path, can't it, into kicking back and really clinging on, because often people have got different ideas. We've talked about this, about people have got different goals about what they want to happen. You know, if people are, overwhelmed themselves with the clutter in your clutter, then let's call it that, or what's perceived to be your clutter, they think it's your fault and they want you to clear it. It's a kind of all or nothing scenario. Yeah. Whereas you as an individual need a little bit of time to work through that and to do it in your own way. Yeah. And so I think often, honestly, when we have third-party referrals and people contact us, less than 50% of the time we actually end up doing that work successfully. And so often, even at the consultation stage, we will have that chat about it. We will realize that the person's not ready. They need to go away and talk that through amongst themselves a little bit. And then we'll be there waiting when both people are on the same hymn sheet, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. Because the thing is, partners or other people reach out because in their opinion, they're at the end of their tether. And they've tried to get the other person to clear up and tidy up and do this and do that. And they've tried to make that happen. And in their opinion, they have either failed in getting that message across, or in their eyes, you as the person with lots of clutter is failing them to provide what they want. So it can be quite negative. And if you as a person then suddenly decide, okay, I want to declutter, I know that that's the right way forward for me, and you go, okay, I'm going to do this, the people around you might go, well, that's nice, but we've seen and done that, heard that before. You know, what's different this time? And why do you think you suddenly can change? It's like, whoa, I haven't even tried, and you're already given up on me already. So the confidence that they're trying to build up in themselves to step over that hurdle of, I'm going to give this a go and I want to give this a try, is already being kind of broken. You know, it's already being built up again before you've even started. You really need, it's hard, Leslie. It's hard.
It's really hard. It's the hardest thing, really, isn't it? Is the dealing with other people. If that's your scenario, some people can go on that journey alone and it's fine. Do you know what I mean? But sometimes it's nice to have the support of other people, and necessary to have the support of other people. And we typically look at things because the people that come to us are the people that are struggling with external sources. But don't think that we don't have great sympathy for the people who are being impacted by that clutter as well. So their thoughts, their feelings are justifiable in the same way that yours are. It's just that we need to find a way to bring these two together. Yeah. And we are going to talk a little bit about potential ways that you can do that later on in the podcast. So I think, just jumping back to that thing that you were talking about, Ingrid, where you're ready, but everybody else is like, well, I just don't believe you that you can do it. They don't believe it because you've gone on a decluttering journey 50 times before, and you just go full gusto and then don't do anything and it never gets any better. And so you can understand, of course, people are a little bit like, yeah, I'm not sure this is going to work. But equally, you need to communicate fully to that person to explain how you're feeling and what you'd like to happen.
Yeah.
So they give you a chance. You need to be given a chance, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's sometimes giving it a chance as well is just as important as being able to share what you're doing and being open about it. But that can be hard because lots of time what we see, Leslie, is that clutter can be quite secretive. People on the outside look very well put together. They, are on time at work and in their volunteering and with the kids, but they don't let anybody in their house because it's kind of a best kept secret almost. And it's like, if you're going on this journey, how far do you want to go yourself? How far are you willing to share? And how far are you trying to get other people on board with this? When it can be, it can be tough in the past.
I think it's a really tough one because I would say, if we are working on a one-to-one basis, and even within the Declutter Hub membership as well, actually, there are people who are in the membership whose family don't know they're in the membership. Equally, there are people who come to us as the Clutter Fairy who don't share that with anybody until they're ready. So I think there's an element of being ready. So they will do it eventually, but I think that stems from a place of I need to go on this journey on my own, and I don't need anybody trying to put me off and say that I can't do it, because I feel as if I can do it. I want to try myself and get myself to a stage where I feel that I've made headway into it. And then at that point, I'll share. Yeah. And so it's unusual for people to keep our services on a one-to-one basis secret forever, but it's quite common for them to keep that secret at the beginning. Is that your experience as well?
Most of my clients have shared with their family, and well, maybe their family or their partner or something like that. There have been a few that have said, oh, you need to come when my partner isn't here, because I want to grow in confidence to do this, and I feel that I have to do this myself first. But most of my clients, the partners are aware, which is nice.
I think that, you know, if you can get both people on the same page at the same time, if it's a couple that we're talking about here that have got the responsibility for the home together, it's so powerful, isn't it, Ingrid?
Yeah.
You know, we've got a few couple combos in our membership, and the fact that two people are doing this, doing the work, doing the thinking, doing the learning, having the light bulb moments together is so powerful, and we love it, because it typically tends to be a solo journey, doesn't it, in your own home? It can be obviously within the membership, it's not a solo journey because you've got other people that understand things, but in your own home, when you're actually doing the work, it typically is you on your own, unless you ask for help, which we're going to talk about later. So I think the other thing that we wanted to talk about, it's so complex. Like honestly, it's a question that we get asked all the time. So if we go on to, not really within the podcast and within the membership, because people kind of know what we think about that, but if we go on to radio shows, TV shows, you were asked it on the TV when you went on that TV show, how do you get other people on board? It's like the biggest question that people ask, because that's the frustration, and that's the thing that people struggle most with, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So it's a tough one, and we've not really found the actual answer, because it's so reliant and so dependent on the nature of the relationship that you have with those people, right? So people are not simple. You know, stuff is simple, emotions not simple, people not simple. Do you know what I mean? That's the thing. That's why it's never about the stuff. There's one more thing that we wanted to talk about in terms of other people, where it's almost a sabotage situation, isn't it, Ingrid? So let's say that you have gone on this decluttering journey. You have made great strides. Your house is looking great. You've learned about yourself. You've curbed your own retail habits. All of those kind of things. Other people can sabotage that, can't they, Ingrid?
Yes. So many examples of that, you know, people passing on their hand-me-downs to you, but even the hand-me-downs that they normally would not accept themselves because they just want to shift stuff from out of their house. It can be grandparents trying to treat the grandchildren on their weekly visit and give them something every time, while they're fully aware that you are trying to declutter your house. It can be family and friends that, bring just too many gifts and too many birthday gifts when they visit, every time they come to your house. It's all these things as well. So you're trying really hard to be better with your spending, to be better for the environment, to have less stuff, to have more space, to spend less stuff cleaning and organizing and tidying. And then the outside forces kind of come into play. And it's like, oh my gosh, I'm trying to tell you people, just stop giving me stuff. I don't want it. I don't need it. And don't then give it to my kids either.
Exactly. No, it is really.
Oh, we can't give it to you. Let's give it to the grandkids. Here, give this to your mom or dad, or let me spoil you. And I mean, trust me, there's nothing wrong with, grandparents spoiling their children. But I think it can become frustrating when it's here's another 5 small little things, little notebooks and extra pens and pencils. It's like, we have 100 of them. We don't need more. Stop buying all this stuff.
Yeah, exactly. It's a hard habit to break, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah, I think there's just one thing, what we've been talking about, Ingrid, is we've been talking about the fact that it's difficult when you're trying to embark on a decluttering journey, when people are giving you things. What we've not spoken about, which is a whole nother angle to other people, is when other people throw your stuff away without your agreement. Now that is damaging, and that's a whole nother podcast in itself, isn't it? Because that is damaging for life for a lot of people, right?
The thing is, Leslie, those things hit so hard that people remember them forever. And the sad thing is, it can really, really hold people almost like hostage in trying to move their own situation forward or asking for help, because that one bad experience by somebody else throwing something away that was so precious and was so special to them, they are then going to think that will happen all the time. While at the time it was either a mistake or it was purposely done, but because they out of spite or out of whatever, anger, or, there's a whole host of emotions connected to that. Or it was just an honest mistake, but because that item was super special, it's something that you remember forever. And that can really kind of hover over your whole decluttering journey and how you want to go through your stuff, how you will or will not let other people help, if you trust somebody else to help you. I think it's all have to do with trust, Leslie.
It is all absolutely to do with trust. And so we started off on a high, even though you were a little bit grumpy. We've gone into the doldrums of thinking that everybody's against us. So now perhaps we need to lift it. And after the break, we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do to make sure that those lovely people around you that are really well-meaning do things that are going to enhance your decluttering journey rather than detract from it.
See you after the break. Okay, Leslie, I'm ready to talk some positivity, because it got very serious before the break, didn't it?
Exactly. So, you started to talk about trust, didn't you? Which is really important. You need to trust the people that are around you to do the right thing by you. And I think one of the big problems that there is quite often is that we talked before about secrecy a little bit, and the fact that a lot of people are a bit more secretive for loads of different underlying reasons. People are secretive. And so I think that people are not open with their communication about what they want and what is needed. So all of this, when it comes to other people, whether that's in work, whether it's relationships, boyfriends, girlfriends, friends, whatever, everything boils down to communication in the end, and this is no exception. So if you want somebody to come on board to support you, that you can trust, to do the right things at the right time, to say the right things at the right time, to step in and do practical things for you when you need to communicate that effectively. And so you need to work out how other people can enhance that journey. So what sort of things are we talking about when it comes to communication, Ingrid?
I think it's being very clear in what you need and not being vague, kind of saying, oh, can you just help me with my decluttering? People, of course, want to say, well, yes, but they're not really sure what you're asking of them. So maybe it's, I would love help decluttering this kitchen drawer. And I know the things I would like to keep. There's a couple of things I'm unsure of, and I would love your opinion to help me make decisions about the other couple of bits that I've put to the side. Can you have a look at this for me? And can we look at this together and see how we can work it out?
Exactly. So I think it's things like that. So it's practical help like that. It's also emotional help as well. So you need to communicate what you need emotionally. So, decluttering is not an easy task, particularly all those other things that we've spoken about into the mix. And so sometimes if you found it tough, it's important to be able to share that with somebody, to say, I feel like I've done really well in this, but I'm still really stalled on these few things, so that hopefully somebody can say the right things to you and shiver you up and go, you know what, you're actually doing an amazing job, and look at the progress that you've made, and don't worry about that and come back tomorrow. I think we need that emotional support. I think we need, a lot of people in the Facebook group post before and after pictures because they know that they're going to get that positive feedback that they require to keep them going. So they have to come into a group where people understand it and are going on the same journey to give them that positive boost. And sometimes we don't get that at home. But I think it's important to explain that that's perhaps what's needed if you feel able to do that. It's hard, right? Sometimes if we're not really open people, it's hard to suddenly go, oh, I need you to be nice to me and say positive things to me, because everyone will be rolling their eyes and going, we've got our own things to deal with, you know what I mean? So just move on with it. But if you need that emotional support, and that's what's lacking, because some people need practical support, some people need emotional support, and other people need support at the end of the journey to then carry on where they left off, if that makes sense. So it's like, I've done my bit now, and now I want you to carry on the great work that I've started and start to look at the things that are kind of yours. Does that make sense? There's different needs for different people, but it all stems with that communication, and people are not mind readers. And so you might be feeling terrible inside about something that's happened, or something that somebody has said, or some little remark that somebody has made that you know, has hit you hard. But you almost need to say that, don't you? And say, do you know what? I'm really trying here. And that thing that you said the other day really upset me a little bit. So can you just hold off on saying those kind of things? Because I'm trying. That kind of thing. I don't know. Yeah. We're not married guidance counselors here. Do you know what I mean? But I think communication is everything, right?
Yeah. And I think, Leslie, that's, I think, what our members love so much about our membership as well, right? We are their biggest cheerleaders. We always have a kind word. We always try to be positive. We always try to say, you know what, well done, good for you, know, fantastic job. Try this, try that, you know, keep going. You're doing fantastic. And I think when you're used to a lot of negativity, it can be just, you know, those kind words that can really help you over the kind of, oh, am I doing the right thing here? And am I okay? You know what I mean? And I think that was really what our members love so much as well about the membership.
I think the thing is about whether that's us too, or whether that's other people within the membership, they're coming to that with a different knowledge base than perhaps somebody in your family who's never really even bothered about decluttering or thought about it or whatever, other than seeing the results of clutter. And so I think we understand, the bottom line is we understand all of the emotions. We completely know all of the things, maybe not all of them, but we have a good sense of pretty much all the emotions that range within clutter and where those things have come from, and the traumas that people have had, and the difficulty that people have with time, and all of those kind of things, mental health, you know. So we come from a place of real understanding and knowledge, and a lot of people in your family don't get that. You only have to see that on, you know, decluttering shows, hoarding shows, TV shows, and the judgment that comes from people who don't get it at all because they've never struggled with that or they've never experienced that. And then they're just like, well, it's just really simple. Like, why are you finding it so difficult? Just throw it away. It's simple. And it's like, but it's not simple. And it's something that a lot of people don't understand. And so that's why communication and communicating to people might make them sit up and pay attention. Because if we struggle along alone without saying anything, how are they ever going to learn to be better? So I think it's a little bit of that. So I am all for kind of openness, but you've got to work out what that looks like in the relationships that you're navigating, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what we see is that partners do come on board, but not on hour one of day one, right? You see that in our membership as well. We have a member who's been absolutely doing fantastic work. And she suddenly said a post and said, wow, my husband or my partner actually started decluttering something and I didn't even have to ask him. He did it out of himself. This is amazing. But that is weeks and maybe even months of her doing her work, plodding on, making great steps forward. And suddenly things start to shift in a more positive way. And then the other people in the house suddenly go, you know, we like this. This is fantastic. And once you kind of have that turning point, that is such a good place to be in, when other people are also thinking to themselves, yeah, I like me some of this. This is fantastic.
Yeah, because they see the positive changes. And so I think, you know, we've certainly seen that in the work that we do, that people don't necessarily understand the emotional connection to stuff, but what they see is the practical application and the practical results, and go, I want a little bit of the piece of that puzzle that my partner has gone on, or whoever that might be. And you're, you know, that looks amazing. And however she's got there, I want to do a little bit of that as well. Yeah. So it does happen. And we don't quite know, because we don't know relationships, do we? We don't quite know when the penny drops or when it shifts into a different place, but often it does. really often, doesn't it, Ingrid?
Yeah,
And that's
yeah.
what we really love. But I think, what we say mostly to people who are like frustrated by the kind of, non-acceptance of a partner, or the inaction, or whatever that might, or the lack of support, all of those things, is go on your own journey. You need to communicate it if you want to, if you're ready to communicate it, but don't feel resentful about what other people are doing, because you can't change the pathway of other people. They need to come on board themselves when the time is right for them. So you need to concentrate on your own journey in your own way, and you need to go through that sort of journey of, I'm going to say enlightenment, because it often is enlightenment for people, because the light bulbs are going on all of the time, and that self-awareness is growing. But the best thing that you can do is go, okay, I really, really would like their support, and I might communicate it when the time's appropriate. But if they're not fully on board, as long as it's not detrimental to your journey, then don't worry about other people. Go on your own journey in your own way. And then slowly but surely, it will start to filter out a little bit. And I'll tell you the one thing that is incredible really is with kids, isn't it? When kids come on board, because they're ready to lap up this learning. And when they see their parents going down this journey, and they start to think, I might maybe want to, and they'll put it in simple terms, like, I want to throw some of my stuff away too, or I want to pass my stuff off to other children, or whatever that might be. So one of the best things that you can do is you can start to train your own children as early as you can, so they have got the principles of decluttering and sharing, repurposing and donating fully nailed when they're young, when they've learned, when they've got time to get that solidified.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you will not only see the benefits yourself, but it's also all those life skills that you're teaching them as well, right? About indeed donation and recycling and asking for less and making things last and taking care of your stuff. Because if kids have hundreds of things, it's really hard for them because they feel overwhelmed with the amount of stuff. And I think when you teach them categorizing and decluttering and organizing and all of the things, it's so beneficial for them. And in the way they also take better care of their own items as well. It's amazing to see. And we've seen that happen with children of the members in our membership, right? They've come on board and they've grown so much as well themselves as children, and helping their mom or dad with their decluttering and trying to contribute in their own way, or coming on board, or, it's amazing to see.
And it's a powerful skill, to understand how to manage your own stuff and your own belongings when you're, between 0 and 10 or 5 and 10 is such a great life skill that's going to stay with you.
Absolutely.
Really, yeah.
Absolutely.
So have we been positive about people, negative about people? What do we think?
I hope so. It's, what, it always starts with yourself, right? That first step starts with yourself. And I think sometimes people who are afraid to take that first step and can't find that support within their own family or in their own home, look outside and want to try and find the community of people that can support and motivate them, because they want to feel part of something bigger, and that's what we aim for with our podcast, with our Facebook group, and of course also with our membership and with the challenges that we do. We want people to go, oh, I love the Declutter Hub community. Those are my kind of people. That feels like a safe place where I can share, where I feel at home, where people understand how hard it is to declutter, where I can celebrate my wins, where I can share a hard thing that's happened to me or a mistake that I've made. And that's exactly what we've been working on for so many years, Leslie, 4 years memberversary tomorrow. But that's what we aim for, right? That people find a group of like-minded people where they feel they belong. And I think, wow, how lucky are we that we can be a part of that, and to be a safe place for people where they feel ready and willing to share and be motivated and supported. And the Declutter Hub family, what can I tell you?
No, so she's about to start crying.
I know. I'm getting all emotional. I'm getting almost
crying, and now she's ended it. You can see those tears in her eyes if you're watching on YouTube. That's thing, we're getting all emotional about our Declutter Hub family, and we feel the same. So don't give up. There's other places to go if other people are not supporting you in the way that you need.
Yeah.
So yeah, nice.
Yes.
Pass it through. Bit of a deep one, right?
I know it's a very deep one, but it's important. We love to laugh. And one of our main aims is to make decluttering fun, but it's also important to talk about these things. And yeah, so happy memberversary, bestie, Declutter Hub bestie.
She's actually forgot my name. I'm like, she's literally forgotten my name.
I just wanted to
be Leslie.
I know. I wanted to say like a cool term, but I can only come up with Declutter Hub bestie.
That's good. Yes, happy memberversary, bestie. I can't think of anything more better to say now.
I know.
But anyway, on that note, we better go, and we will see you all next week.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks so much for listening to the Declutter Hub podcast. Don't forget to subscribe to us in your podcast player so you don't miss an episode, and we'll see you next week.